Hey, good Monday morning, everybody. BAM Weather meteorologist Brett Waltz here, giving you a long-range forecast update, guys. I hope y'all are doing well this morning. We have the latest details on what to expect as we go throughout the middle part of January and beyond. Certainly have seen some substantial warmer trends in the short term for the next 7 to 10 days. I want to address why I think that is and also what it will mean as we work later into this month. Before we get to that, guys, I do want to talk about the temperatures this week and how much they're going to warm up. We take a look as we work into tomorrow. You can see a widespread 50s and 60s across the Ohio Valley down through the Tennessee Valley, 30s to the north, for this time of the year up in Wisconsin and Michigan, high temperatures in the mid to upper 30s, certainly a good bit warmer than normal. And as we continue to go throughout the week, you can just see the warmth continue to expand further to the north, some 60s creeping into the Ohio Valley, 40s all the way up into the northern portions of Michigan and into Wisconsin, guys. It's going to be a mild pattern here as we go throughout this week. We do have a storm system and a cold front that will moderate things. You can see much cooler temperatures as we work into the weekend, but as we work back into next week, you can see temperatures generally lingering milder than normal. Certainly not going to be dealing with any Arctic cold over the next 7 to 10 days. I do want to make a note that as we warm this pattern up, we're going to be looking at rain and storm opportunities as well as we get late into this week. You can see the time here in the bottom right, just to give you an idea of the pattern as we go throughout this week. A weak little wave tomorrow across parts of Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan that can lead to a mix of some freezing rain, maybe some sleet and some snow in far northern portions of Michigan. All things considered, though, as we work throughout this week, not dealing with any major kind of wintry weather threats. This is as we get into Thursday. This is our next storm system that we're targeting. It's going to be a rain event. I think widespread rain going to develop across parts of Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana. Would not be shocked as a line of storms moves through as we work into Thursday night. Maybe a couple of gusty storms, not out of the question in here as we work in much warmer air and a stronger storm system. Then we have another low as we work into Friday. You can see just continued rain shower activity across the Ohio Valley. This will open the door for some snow potential across parts of Iowa and Wisconsin as we head into your weekend here, guys. But you can actually see further down to the south parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, maybe strong storm potential in here with temperatures well above normal and up into the 60s as we work into your Friday. Again, cooler air seeps into the weekend, some scattered snow showers as we work across the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes as we work into your Saturday. Taking a look here at some of the trends, I want to harp in on this because model data has just been consistently trending warmer and warmer and warmer, at least through the 15th of the month. This is the 10th to the 15th. This is what the model looked like, the EPS here a couple of days ago. It was warm, there's no doubt about that, but look at how it's rolled forward. The warmth has just intensified. It's not even that this mild period was necessarily unexpected. If we go back to some of our videos a few weeks ago, we talked about the 5th to the 15th of January probably not being all that cold, but it's the intensity of the warmth that has increased so much as we've worked over the past 7 days or so, and you can see that here with this outlook in the 5 to 10 day period. So how long does this stick around? Is there still a cold shot in here as we work towards the middle to the latter part of the month? That is what we're going to break down as we go throughout this video. As we take a look at just the overall progression, this is into the weekend again, guys. You can see a little bit of a moderation here as we go into the weekend and into early next week, but the warmth picks right back up. I think some cooler air into the end of the second week of January in the southeastern U.S., but milder across the northern tier of the United States. Now, after the 15th of the month, this is when we should start to see a little bit of a moderation, but because of how warm that the pattern has become over the next 10 days, I think it's going to take some time to shift. We have a lot of mild Pacific air that's going to be in place that we're going to be dealing with, and it's going to take some time to break that down. And so if we take a look here, this is as we work towards the 15th, 16th, you can start to see seasonable to slightly cooler air try to redevelop in the forecast here for the eastern part of the United States, but it's not an immediate flip. I don't think this is a situation where the 14th is going to be much above normal and then by the 16th we're much below normal. I think it's going to take a couple of days, but you can start to see kind of a steadier trend towards a cooler idea through the 18th, 19th, and 20th of the month or so. The GEFS here by day 15 still trying to put in more widespread, cooler than normal risk. And if we look at the EPS, it's also showing the same thing. And so I'm not going to completely back off the idea that we are going to see a pattern change as we work into the last 10 to 14 days or so of January. I still see signals in here that there can be a change back to cold. I think the questions that we're going to have to monitor, how cold and how widespread, I'm going to do my best here to kind of break that down for you over the next few moments. Taking a look at some of our pattern drivers, looking at East Asia, it would suggest that the more widespread cold comes in between the 19th and the 24th. Before that, again, a moderation, maybe a little bit up and down. Again, going to take a couple of days, but there's support for the cooler idea for the northern and eastern part of the country as we work towards the 19th and 20th of the month behind a storm system. Again, I think the question mark here is how intense can the cold actually be? I am concerned that the most intense cold air may have the tendency, at least initially, to go over in here towards Asia. If we look at the polar vortex, the coldest air on the planet and the lobes of the vortex that supply cold air are more so into Asia and into Europe, really for the first time consistently this winter. That would mean that there's still the potential to get cold, but maybe the more extreme cold we avoid at least for a time. That is what the polar vortex would indicate right now. Now, in terms of our tropical forcing, it would still support, a colder risk to the forecast. As we get upward motion and thunderstorm activity to move across the Pacific Ocean, that should shift the Pacific jet stream. It's going to open the door for cooler risk in the forecast. It just might not be extreme because of the polar vortex. A good example of a year that did something like this would be 2008. This was what the polar vortex looked like that year. You can see the core of the coldest air initially over towards Asia, but with time, it looped back around into the United States. And so I think what could ultimately end up happening is the very end of January could feature more notable cold, but we're still in line for a transition with our 18th to 20th storm system. To break this down a little bit further, I reverse engineered what's happened so far in January and what looks to happen over the next 7 days. And the years that match up best with the overall global pattern drivers in the polar vortex, 2021, 2014, we're not going to be as cold as that year, certainly the first half of the month, but I still see a lot of similarities in the overall pattern, and then 2008. Between the 5th and the 15th, these years combined, very warm overall. In fact, very similar to what we're going to look like over the next 10 days. Look at what started to happen, though, between the 16th to the 20th. This isn't a notable cold look, but it moderates things and it starts to seep some cooler air in. Exactly what the EPS and the GEFS are trying to see by the end of the model runs. And then after that, between the 21st to the 31st, this is where maybe you start to get a step down process of some more notable cold. These years were quite chilly the last third of January, and so it does support that there can still be a bigger pattern change down the road. But do we have any data support for it? We take a look at the CFS Weekly, it is trying to see it. Again, I think the extent of the cold may be the biggest uncertainty mark. It keeps it more so across the northern tier of the United States, but it is seeing a trend colder. The EPS Weekly, it's very similar. Again, certainly not nearly as warm as what we're going to be the next 10 days, but it is certainly trying to get colder. And the GEFS is the most aggressive. It looks very similar here to this analog, maybe not quite as extreme, but it supports the cooler signal. And so I think the bottom line here, guys, is it's going to be mild the next 10 days. There's no doubt about that. But I think between the 16th and the 20th, we can start to see a transitional period. And I still think the door is open for the end of January to be colder. The biggest uncertainty, again, is just the intensity of that cold air later this month. Real quick before we go, I did want to make the mention here, guys, to be on the lookout in the Clarity platform and on the BAM website and in the emails for spring forecast updates as we go throughout this week. We're going to be taking a look at top analogs, taking a look at data, and the overall pattern transition as we weaken our La Nina state and eventually head into an El Nino later this year. Preliminary indications, this is the latest European seasonal model, very active as we go throughout spring. Traditionally, following La Nina years, especially when we head into El Ninos, the pattern into early spring can be pretty active and also favor above normal severe weather potential. So I think that's something that we're going to be eyeing as well. And the CFS, It's a little bit further east with the moisture corridor in the eastern ag belt and up the east coast, but also very active. All things considered, both of these pieces of model guidance pretty similar to what our current March, April, May precipitation outlook is. I think it's a pretty active start to spring, especially for the eastern ag belt regions. Again, guys, we'll have more details on that in the coming days. Be sure to be on the lookout for those outlooks for this upcoming spring. Thanks, guys, and we'll chat soon. Have a great day.